My parents didn't notice that I moved to another state, but now my father is calling me and demanding that I visit them, or he'll stop paying for my college education. So I told him that I already graduated a year ago, and now earn 10 times his income. I was always the child my father looked down on. He was obsessed with my brother Roman. When I got accepted into a prestigious college, he told me, "You know what? I don't care. You have to go to the local college because we don't want your brother to be jealous of you." Well, I played along. I said, "Okay, Dad, fine. I'll go to the local college, on one condition. I get to stay in the dorms." That was my lie. I pretended to stay in the dorms, but in reality, I took my scholarship and went to the prestigious college. He had no idea. And when he finally finds out, oh, he's going to explode. But here's the thing, what would you do if the people who barely acknowledged your existence for years suddenly wanted you to show up and play family for a day? That's the situation I'm in now. Let me start from the beginning. My name's Jonas. And if you haven't guessed by now, my family is all sorts of twisted. Actually, I'm not even sure if I can call them family. I mean, what do you call the people who gave birth to you, only to forget about you the second they found a better version? See, I could have had a happy family if my parents had treated both their children equally. But nope. My parents, Patrick and Marin, are biased as hell. They've treated me like background noise for as long as I can remember. All because my brother Roman was the healthier kid. Roman was one of those cute, chubby babies, the kind everyone fawns over. Meanwhile, I was the skinny, average-looking one that nobody particularly wanted to hold. But should that really make a difference? Should parents love one child more than the other just because one is prettier? Apparently, in my family, the answer is yes. Within a month of Roman's birth, he became their golden child. He wasn't extraordinary, he was just better looking. But to my parents, he was the main character. Everyone was obsessed with him. And me? I was the supporting character, always in the background, always forgotten. You can imagine what a horrible childhood I had. My parents ignored me, only paying for my basic necessities, while my arrogant little brother soaked up all the attention. And trust me, Roman knew he was the favorite. He let that privilege get to his head. All the pampering, all the extra care, it turned Roman into a spoiled brat who cared about no one but himself. And you know what's even worse? I was bullied by my younger brother. Yeah, you heard that right. Roman made it his mission to make my life miserable. Whether it was throwing tantrums so my parents would cancel my plans, or outright stealing things I liked, he never let up. And my parents? They let it happen. No, scratch that. They enabled it. While Roman was showered with new toys, praise, and affection, I never had to worry about being spoiled. My birthdays were formalities. My achievements didn't matter. My role in the family? A background prop. I remember in 3rd grade when I got straight A's on my report card. I was so excited, I thought, maybe this time they'll be proud of me. So I showed my mother, expecting at least a pat on the back. You know what she said? "That's good." And then she went right back to gushing over some crooked dog drawing Roman had made. She even put it on the refrigerator. Meanwhile, my straight A report card got tossed into the junk drawer, forgotten. That's how things always were. I was that forgotten report card, while Roman was praised for every little thing. But it wasn't just that. Oh no, Roman got to pick everything, where we went on vacation, what we had for dinner, even what we watched on TV. Every time I tried to choose something, I was shut down. And Roman? He loved rubbing it in my face. He was the king. I was nothing. So yeah, it's probably no surprise that I wanted to get the hell out of that house as soon as possible. And then, I got the perfect opportunity. I had worked my ass off to get into college. I landed a full-ride scholarship at one of the top universities in the country. You know, the kind of college that guarantees a successful career. It was my dream. But of course, my parents couldn't let me have this one thing either. And why? Because of Roman. They actually told me, "You should just go to the local college instead. It's a better option." Bullshit. They just didn't want me to outshine Roman. They even admitted it. They literally said that since Roman wasn't as smart as me, he might feel bad if I went to a prestigious college while he couldn't. Like, what was stopping him? He could have worked his ass off like I did. But no, I had to stay behind just so he wouldn't feel insecure. None of it made sense. But to my parents, Roman always came first. So yeah, I lied. I told them I'd go to the local college, but instead I took my scholarship and left. And you know what? They didn't even notice. For 3 years, I built a life for myself in another state. I graduated. I got a high-paying job. I was finally free. But now? Now my dad is calling, demanding that I come home. And when I told him the truth, that I graduated a year ago and make 10 times his salary, I could practically hear his brain short-circuiting. And I haven't even told him everything yet, because when he finally realizes where I've been all this time, oh, he's going to lose his mind. Hey guys, it's Jonas again. Buckle up because the drama just hit a whole new level. So after my last update, I had a gut feeling my father wasn't going to let this go. I mean, the man thrives on control, and my refusal to attend Roman's wedding must have felt like a direct attack on his kingdom of manipulation. And, surprise, surprise, I was right. This morning I got a call from him, and wow, was he livid. He didn't waste a single second before launching into a full-blown interrogation. Where the hell have you been all this time? What the hell have you been doing with all the money I sent for your college fees? It was like watching a toddler throw a tantrum over not getting his favorite toy, except this was a grown man losing his mind because things didn't go his way. Turns out, after our last conversation, my father actually marched down to the local college, thinking he could withdraw my name and cut off my education as some kind of punishment. And that's where things got hilarious. Because, well, that's right. My dear father went in there fully expecting to pull the rug out from under me, only to be told that his son had never even been a student there in the first place. I can only imagine the confusion on his face when he heard that. And judging by his rage-filled rant this morning, yeah, I'd say reality hit him hard. I let him scream for a while, just sitting back and enjoying the show. Then, when he finally stopped to breathe, I hit him with a simple, "What college?" Silence. Like actual silence. For the first time in my life, my father had no words. He was stunned, and that's when I knew. This was my moment. So I finally told him the truth. I told him I had moved states away years ago. I told him I had already graduated. And I told him I now had a 6-figure job. Something I earned on my own, without a single ounce of real support from them. And just like that, the power dynamic flipped. For the first time ever, I was in control. And let me tell you, it was glorious. But of course, the man couldn't just accept reality. Oh no, he had to double down. He started yelling about how I had lied to him, how I had betrayed the family, and how I was ungrateful after all they had done for me. All they had done for me? Oh, you mean ignoring me my entire life? Favoring Roman at every turn? Actively sabotaging my potential so I wouldn't outshine the golden child? Yeah, sure. Thanks for that, Dad. At that point, I was done listening. I just laughed and told him, "You know what, Dad? You're right, I did lie. But only because I knew you'd do everything in your power to hold me back if I told you the truth. And look at you, proving me right." He was seething. Then I added one last thing before hanging up. "Oh, and by the way, you can keep your money. I don't need it. Never did." And just like that, I ended the call. Guys, I don't even know how to describe the feeling of finally being free from their control. I spent years believing I had to earn my family's love, but the truth is, their love was always conditional. And I'm done chasing it. So yeah, I missed out on Roman's wedding. Big deal. I doubt he even cares. He's got mom and dad worshipping the ground he walks on. Meanwhile, I have peace. And trust me, that's worth way more than any fake family reunion. Anyway, that's the update. I'll let you guys know if anything else happens, because let's be real, my parents aren't the type to go down quietly. But for now, I'm gonna go enjoy my very successful, very independent life. Thanks for sticking around, y'all. Can't wait to read your thoughts in the comments. It was like they saw potential in me, but actively chose to ignore it. Like giving me any real support would somehow threaten Roman's golden child status. Why else would they have pushed so hard for me to stay at the local college while Roman, who wasn't even half as ambitious, got all the encouragement in the world? It was as though I wasn't supposed to be more successful than him. That wasn't part of their script. But did I let that foolishness get to me? No. No. I had already sacrificed a lot to keep up with the family and their crazy, biased antics, but I decided I'd had enough. I told my parents that I would only settle for the local college if they allowed me to stay in the dorms. My parents agreed a bit too happily, thinking they had convinced me to stay back. But did they really? Not a chance in hell. I took the scholarship and moved states away while my parents believed I was studying at the local college. The best part? The prestigious college I got into had the finance course I wanted in just 2 years, while the local college offered it in 4. So it was perfect. I could graduate earlier than my parents even expected. Honestly, it was the best decision I ever made. Not only did I escape the hellhole my parents created, but this college was the epitome of success. I say this because right after graduating, I landed a 6-figure salary. I've been in this job for a year now, and things are looking up. I'm even close to getting a promotion. I managed it all. The scholarship covered 70% of the fees, while I used the money my father sent, supposedly for the local college fees, to cover other expenses. Now, I'm living the good life. My father still sends me money, thinking I'm studying at the local college, and I haven't told him to stop. I know it's sort of wrong, but I consider it payback for the last 3 years. I've been in low contact with my family, just a few check-in calls here and there, and maybe 1 or 2 visits during the holidays to keep up appearances. Other than that, they haven't bothered me much, and honestly, they don't seem to care much anyway. Why would they? They had their golden child. The one guy they were forced to take care of was now out of their lives. A win-win for my parents. I was actually content with this arrangement. Sure, it hurt from time to time that my parents didn't care enough to know I had moved states away, but that sadness was tempered by the peace of no longer having their toxic presence around me. Truth be told, though, I did miss having a family. Not a dysfunctional one like mine, but just the feeling of having a family that actually cared about me. Despite all the friends and luxuries, it felt like something was missing from my life. However, this seemed impossible to fix, until this morning. Today my father called to inform me that Roman was getting married, and he wanted me there days before the wedding to help with preparations. I was taken aback. Was my father really asking me to come home? I had craved this moment for so long, especially when he told me I was part of the family and that he wanted everyone present for Roman's big day. I actually got emotional. My parents had never acknowledged me as part of their family. For them, it was mostly them and Roman. But now, my father especially wanted me at the wedding. It was overwhelming, this newfound recognition from my parents. But then again, I was reminded that these were the same people who had ignored me throughout my childhood. Even now, they didn't know their eldest son was living states away from them. Do I really want to go back to these people, only to be ignored again like I've been my entire life? This is where I find myself stuck, in a dilemma. And I want to ask you all, what would you do if you were in my shoes? I miss the sense of family, and it would be great to have them care about me for once. But the thought of going back, only for them to shatter my expectations yet again, haunts me. Should I accept their invitation and go to my brother's wedding just for the sake of family? Or should I stick to my decision of living far away and not let them hurt me again? Update. It's been 2 days, and I've had a lot of time to think about what I should do. In the end, I've decided to protect my peace. Even though some of you might not agree with my decision, I chose not to accept my father's invitation to Roman's wedding. And honestly, it feels like the best decision I've ever made. Spoiler alert. My parents haven't changed, and they never will. Let me pick up where I left off in my initial post. After some thought, I texted my father, simply stating that I wouldn't be able to make it. No long-winded explanation, no excuses, just the truth. I wasn't coming. I expected some pushback, but I didn't expect how quickly the manipulation would start. Within an hour, my phone was blowing up with texts left and right. First, my mother tried to guilt-trip me. She asked if I really wanted to miss Roman's big day, if I wanted to be that brother, and how disappointed Roman would be if I wasn't there. She went on about how much it would mean to him if his older brother were present. Really? She also tried to play the "you only get one family" card. But here's the thing, Roman's big day didn't mean a thing to me. because Roman had never once cared about any of my important days. Not one. And yeah, you only get one family, but only if they act right, you know? So I told my mother the same thing. I was not coming. And when the guilt-tripping didn't work, my father stepped in with his own set of crazy tactics. At first, he tried to play it cool, saying things like how families should stick together for occasions like this. When I still didn't budge, he decided to play dirty. He called me and said that if I didn't show up to Roman's wedding, they would stop paying for my college fees. He claimed they couldn't afford to have people whispering about how one of their sons wasn't present at such an important event. Basically, they wanted to maintain the facade of a happy family for all the friends and neighbors. It was all about appearances, as usual. Not about me. Not about Roman. But about how the family was viewed by others. That's when I actually lost it. I mean, how selfish could someone possibly be? Threatening to stop paying my college fees just so I would show up at a wedding. It was so stupid. Even more so considering I didn't care about a dime of the money they gave me. So I told my father, go ahead, stop paying the college fees. I'm not coming to the wedding, and nothing you say or threaten will change that. I still didn't tell them that I had graduated a year ago, that I was living states away, or that I had a 6-figure job and a life they could never have given me. I didn't want them to know yet, because they would ruin the good things in my life. I know I have to tell them the truth sometime, and I will. Soon enough. But for now, I was having fun. My refusal to attend the wedding, even after my father's threats, only made him angrier. He ranted about how ungrateful I was, how I had always been difficult, and how he was going to withdraw my name from the local college to teach me a lesson. He said it like it was some great threat, as if being removed from a place I had never even set foot in would devastate me. Little did he know, honestly, I couldn't help but laugh. And now I'm just waiting for my father to go to the local college and try to withdraw my name from a place I was never enrolled in. I honestly can't wait for his reaction. Anyway, I'll keep you guys updated. Until then, so long. Clearly my father had been mistaken. When he went to the local college, he was in for the surprise of his life. The college had no record of my enrollment. I can only imagine the scene. Him standing there, demanding to cancel my non-existent enrollment, only to realize that Jonas had never been a student there. The realization must have hit him like a punch to the gut. Naturally, the humiliation from that moment carried over into our call. His tone was sharp, laced with anger. He wanted answers. Where had I been for the past 3 months? What had I been doing with all the money he'd sent? But honestly, the whole situation was so absurd that I couldn't help but laugh. After enduring a few more angry outbursts from him and stalling as much as I could, I finally told him the truth. I had already graduated a year ago, on a scholarship. The money he'd been sending for my college fees? It had been a great help in getting me on my feet. But then I dropped the real bombshell. I now had a 6-figure salary. I was earning more than him. The disappointment in his voice was palpable when he asked if I was joking. But he knew I wasn't. The reality that I was no longer the struggling student he had envisioned, but rather an independent, successful man, must have been a bitter pill to swallow. I was prepared for what came next. The moment my father processed what I had said, he exploded. He accused me of betrayal, furious that I had kept my success from them. He ranted about how much he had done for me, only to be repaid like this. Done so much for me? Was he referring to how he and my mother had ignored me for years in favor of their golden child? Then he hit me with the most ridiculous demand. He told me the only way he would forgive me was if I attended Roman's wedding and ensured that there was no scandal or gossip about the family. I couldn't believe it. Even now, the only thing that mattered to him was his image. I didn't understand why he suddenly cared so much about the family's reputation. It had never mattered to him before. I made it clear that I didn't need his forgiveness, nor did I want to take part in their parade of a happy family. That only fueled his desperation. He kept trying to convince me to come to the wedding, but I stood my ground. There wasn't a chance in hell I would attend the wedding of the man who had ruined my childhood. Not only that, but I was done with all of it. The drama, the toxicity, the manipulation. I told him I was cutting them off. His shock was evident, but I didn't back down. I had spent my entire childhood staying silent, swallowing my pain while they trampled over me, but not anymore. I told him not to contact me again. They could enjoy their beloved son's wedding without me. I'd be too busy enjoying my life. He tried to manipulate me, pulling the usual emotional strings, but I wasn't having it. When he started droning on about how I was still his son and had a duty to attend my brother's wedding, I shut him down. I told him, "You only ever had one son, so keep it that way." Then I hung up, blocked his number, and just like that, I was free. It was a bittersweet feeling. I had never wanted things to come to this, but I knew it had to be done. At least now I could live my life in peace. Maybe one day I'd even create a family of my own. But of course, they couldn't let me go so easily. It had been over a month since I cut them off. I thought I was finally done with all their drama. Clearly, I was wrong. A few days ago, I got a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. It was my mother, full-on sobbing. I had blocked all their numbers, so I was taken aback when she managed to reach me. I hesitated to hang up, thinking something might have happened. But no, it wasn't anything urgent. Instead, she started talking about how much she missed me, how she just wanted her son back. She claimed she didn't care about what had happened between me and Dad, that none of it mattered to her. She just wanted me to be part of the family again. And I'll admit, I was confused. Where was this energy when I told them I was cutting them off? They didn't seem to care then. But now, all of a sudden, she wanted to patch things up? Something didn't add up. So I told her I'd talk to her later, and hung up. I had a bad feeling about this. I reached out to my aunt, my mother's sister, to see if she had any insight. And what she told me, it was insane. Roman's wedding had been an absolute disaster. Apparently his perfect fiancée was nothing more than a scammer. Before the wedding, she somehow convinced Roman, my parents, and several other family members to invest all their savings into some shady, once-in-a-lifetime investment opportunity. And guess what? It was all a fraud. She took the money and vanished. No wedding, no fiancé, and no savings. But that wasn't even the worst part. According to my aunt, my parents were in even deeper trouble than I had imagined. My father had gotten into some kind of incident with an employee in their family, leading to a massive loss in his already failing business. And suddenly, everything clicked. This was why he was so desperate to get me to the wedding. It had nothing to do with family. He wanted to use me as a prop, to paint the illusion of a perfect family and salvage his reputation. But of course, it didn't work. The fiasco with Roman's fiancée only made things worse. They were losing money left and right. And to top it all off, they had put their house up as collateral for a loan in a last-ditch effort to save the business. That, too, had blown up in their faces. Now they were on the verge of losing their home. With nowhere else to go, they had to move into a rundown trailer or tiny apartment, whatever they could afford. Suddenly, my mother's call made perfect sense. She hadn't reached out because she missed me. She called because they were desperate. They knew I was successful, and now they saw me as their last hope. Well, I wasn't playing that game. I wasn't going to let them drag me back into their mess, not after everything they had put me through. And the best part? Now they were turning on Roman. They blamed him for everything. The failed wedding, the lost money, the downfall of the family. It was almost poetic. The golden child they had spent their entire lives prioritizing had been the one to ruin them. Not going to lie, I felt some satisfaction knowing they were finally facing the consequences of their choices. But me, I was staying out of it. After that call, I blocked my mother again. I wasn't falling for her emotional manipulation. Did that stop them from trying to contact me? Of course not. But at this point, I knew exactly who they were. Desperate, clingy, manipulative. And I had no intention of letting them pull me back in. Final update. My parents and golden child brother showed up at my door and got exactly what they deserved. So just when I thought this whole nightmare was over, my parents somehow tracked down my address. Don't ask me how. I have no idea which old friend of mine ratted me out, but clearly they were desperate enough to go digging. But the how doesn't even matter. What matters is that they had the audacity to show up at my front door, acting like nothing had happened. They started rambling about family values and how, as their eldest son, it was my duty to take care of them now. Excuse me? The same parents who ignored me for years, the same people who threw everything at the feet of their golden boy and treated me like an afterthought. Now suddenly I was their responsibility. Nah, I did what should have been done a long time ago. I slammed the door in their faces. Of course, that didn't stop them from pleading. They whined about how they were broke and had spent their last bit of savings booking a flight just to come see me. Well, that sucks for them, but it wasn't my problem. They never cared when I was struggling, so why should I care now? But wait, there's more. A few days later, guess who showed up? Yep, Roman. The golden child himself, standing on my doorstep, literally crying and begging me for help. He said he missed his big brother. Big brother? Oh, you mean the one you bullied and tormented for years? That one? I told him exactly that. But he kept begging, saying Mom and Dad were about to cut him off since they blamed him for everything. Apparently, their anger finally shifted from me to him, and he couldn't handle it. Guess he didn't like being the scapegoat for once. Well, not my problem. Roman got the same treatment as our parents. I shut the door in his face and warned him that if any of them showed up again, I'd call the police. Since then, radio silence. No calls. No unexpected visits. Just peace. Do I feel a little sad? Sure. There's always going to be a void where my family should have been. But I'm not letting that sadness drag me back into their toxicity. I refuse to keep suffering for the sake of family. Because let's be real, they were never really my family to begin with. I'm done. And honestly, it feels damn good.